Let's continue building our home lab, and today I want to talk to you about secrets. So we will learn how we can encrypt passwords and how we can decrypt it in Ansible so we can, for example, send a sudo password to a remote server. I could use Ansible Vault, which is the default in Ansible, and if you have ever tried to use secrets in Ansible, you probably used Ansible Vault. This is in the documentation, of course, and I used it for years. I didn't really like it. So later I found sops, secrets operations, which was easier for me. So I use it since then. So in this video, I will show you how you can encrypt the password, how you can use it in Ansible. And you can also see a laptop in the corner. And this is what I use as a server. So I don't have a very expensive server somewhere else. I use my cheap devices. And this is the reason why I'm doing this series. I want to show you how you can use cheap devices to build your home lab. So let's start learning about sops. Let's begin with the blog post, and I will share the link under the video. And I will also share the link to the source code, which I already pushed to GitHub. But I deleted the source code from my local machine because I want to make it again with you. So let's scroll down. As usually, there is a table of contents, and the first chapter is why I want to use Nix again. So I can install sops and age, which I think I didn't mention. So we will use sops and age is the actual tool which will do the encryption, and sops will use age, so we can have a common interface even if we want to use age or something else behind it. Now I can use the package manager of my Linux operating system and my Mac OS if I want to support both of the operating systems, or I can use Nix. And this was the reason in my previous videos why I used Nix to install a specific version of Python. And now I will use it for sops and age. And my other reason is that if I want to download a stable release from GitHub, then I have to manually check the checksum, and probably I will have to download some other programs as well, which I don't want to, and I want to focus on how we can use secrets. So that's why I use Nix again. And if you don't know how you can install Nix, it's actually easy. You can search for it on Google. You will find the documentation very quickly. And if you don't want to use Google, you can also watch my videos or just read my previous blog post and you will find the link to the instructions. So now I will just assume that everyone has Nix on their machine, and let's go to the first chapter, which we need to do now. So first of all, since we want to use age to encrypt the file, we will have to generate a private key and a public key. So we will have a key pair very similarly to how an SSH key works. And we can use the public key to encrypt the file, and we can use the private key to decrypt the file. So how can we install age keygen? We need the age package, which we'll install in a Nix shell. And we will have to set some configuration variables here. Let's create that config file. And I have to call it config as age. So the first variable is just a general variable for my home lab, and I can use it in any of my scripts later. This is just the folder where I want to store the generated files. And the next variable with the sops prefix is the path to the private key file. And the last variable is for Ansible, because it will not use the previous variable but it needs the same value, so I can just use the previous variable here. Right, so the next, I want to generate the key pair, so I will create a new script. sops keygen sh. Let's go back to my blog post and copy the parts of the script. The first part is for an X shell, so I want an X shell, and I want it to interpret the file in a bash shell. I want to install the age package here, age, and I want to use a specific version of the package manager, and I want to use a specific version of the packages. Now let's copy the next part, and this is it. I need to load or source the configuration file so I can use the variables I set there. And the next part is I want to create the parent folder if it is not there yet. And the next part is if the file is not there, then I want to run hkeygen, and I want to store the file at a specific location. Okay, and as a last part, I will just show where the file was saved. That's it. And then I will need to set the executable flag here, chmod +x sops hkeygen. Now, there is no var folder here yet. Let's go to the terminal and run sops keygen. We have this folder, we have the key. You can also see that it shows us the public key, and this is the second line is my echo. It will show that this is where the file was saved. Now let's check this file. I will just use cat. And as you can see, this is the public key. So you can find the public key in the file of the private key if you need it as a command. I can check it here too. Okay. We have the key pair, and now we need a file which we can encrypt. So let's create a file called sops.plain.yaml, or not. I want secrets plain YAML. And I need one variable here, beCampus, and I will leave it empty. This is a plain text file, and I don't want to write a password here. Now, since this file is not empty, I can use sops to encrypt this file, and then I can edit that file to set the password. I have a plain text file, and now I need sops, which will have to run again in an X shell. So again, I will need to copy the first part of the script into sops sh. So again, I want to install everything in an X shell. I want this file to be interpreted in a bash shell, and I want to install sops and also age, because I need to use the age keygen command here too. The next part, again, sourcing the config file. And now we need the public key. So now we have a command to get the public key from the private key. we could try to run it. We have an sops key again, and I will comment out some lines here. I don't need that part. And I want to use age, not age key again, of course, age key again, and I want to pass all the parameters here. Okay, it should work. Sops key again, -y, and now I need to send the file, which is in var age key, to the standard input of the sops key again. Now this is it. So we will get the public key here, and this is what we will load into a variable here. Okay, let's fix this file. That's it. So the last part, of course, using sops and passing all the parameters to the sops executable. And now I have to go back to my blog post because yes, we have to set the executable flag. I can try to run it, get the version, for example. It works, and I can also get the help. It works too. But now I want to encrypt the file, the plaintext file, and this is how we can do it. Let's copy this command from here to the terminal. Yes. So we will use the wrapper script, and we need the encrypt flag because we want to encrypt the file, which is still a plain text. And we will use the output parameter here, and its value is the secrets YAML, which will be the output file. This is what I will generate as a secret. And the last argument is secrets plain YAML, which is the plain text file. Let's run it. And now I want to see the secrets. Okay, not this way. I want to see the secrets YAML here. It's here. We can also check the content. Okay, so you can see the bCompass at the beginning of the file, and we have an entire section, this sops section, which will store some configuration here, like the recipient. So let's go back and let's see how we can edit this file. All we have to do is use sops without any parameter. The only parameter is the file which we want to edit. This is the secrets YAML, which is already encrypted. So this file will be opened with our default text editor in the command line. And in my case, this is Vim. And let's use the home lab 2023 as a password. Okay, and save it. And when I quit, it will save the file and change the encrypted value. Let's go back to the Visual Studio Code, and you can see that this is not null anymore. Okay, now we want to use it in Ansible. So I have to open my inventory file, and this is where we have our parameters, for example, our Ansible user and the Ansible SSH private key file or the host IP address. I want to change the user because if I use my own user, then I have to show you my password, and I don't want to do that. So let's use the Ansible home lab new user. And I will need a new variable here, call it sops. It could be anything. We will have to refer to this variable later. And we will need a template here, and use a lookup plugin. And that lookup plugin is the community sops.sops, and its parameter is the file which we want to decrypt. And this is secrets YAML. Okay, now this will be a text. This will be a string, and I want to convert it to an object which can be used in Ansible. So let's use the Ansible built-in from YAML filter. And now I think it's time to check my blog post because I'm not sure that I used the right value here. Let's see. And yes, this is it. The lookup plugin is right. I think it's right. Okay. The next is that I want to refer to that variable from the Ansible bcampass template. I will just copy this to my inventory file. First, I need to refer to the variable as ops, and then after using the dot character, I can just write the variable name which I want to use, bcampass. Now we could try to run the Ansible playbook, which will be the playbook hello YAML. This is just a simple playbook using a single role, hello world, and it requires root privileges, and it will create a file on the remote server. The only problem is that in order to use sops in Ansible, I will need sops on my host, on the host where my Ansible will run. And I have sops in the Nix shell, but Ansible is not running in the Nix shell. So let's make it run in the Nix shell. Back to the blog post. Yes, you can see how I created my dedicated user for Ansible. And yeah, this was my old shell script, and this will be the new shell script. Again, the first part is for Nix shell. I need sops only, and I don't need the ask bcampass parameter here. I don't want Ansible to ask for the password, and that's it. Oh, right. So I forgot to load the config file, of course. I will need this. Run sh and playbook hello. And I need to override the default value here. Let's go back to the hello playbook. I want to create a file on the remote server, and I want to test my root privileges. So I don't want to just use an existing file. I want to make sure that I'm using a completely new file, which is not saved on my remote server. So I will override this parameter from the command line -e hello world dest equals /opt/ hello world, and let's add some timestamp here. This way, and the extension is txt. Okay. Now I will try this. So this was just my passphrase for my SSH key. It was not the become password. Okay, it looks like it worked, and I could check my remote server if I want, so let's just go there. And I will have multiple files here in the opt folder. And this is my current file. So we finally can use secrets in Ansible, but I still have to do something. For example, I will have to remove, okay, I don't have to, but I want to remove the plaintext file, I don't need it. And I don't want to commit this private key. So I want to add var and also secrets YAML to the git ignore. And that's it. And there's the missing new line here. Okay, that's the example. And there is an additional new line here. Now we can see that everything is how I wanted it to be. So this is it. Now you can use secrets in Ansible. You can use it for passwords, tokens, or everything that you don't want to share with everyone. And if you want to use a production system, then you really don't want to save plaintext passwords. So that's for today. If you have any question, please let me know in the comment section.